All right, Aftershocks TV, Matt and Chris, we're back with another great episode for you guys and gals. And today we're talking old school hardcore with one of the best who have ever done it out of the Bay Area. And they're back with new music for the first time in almost 2 decades. From Oakland Brand Hardcore Veterans Powerhouse, we got vocalist Cris Hower and guitarist Eddie Medina. Guys, thanks for coming on Aftershocks. How you guys doing, man? Thanks for coming on.
Good, thank you, man.
Yeah, doing good. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us.
All right, guys. Thanks, man. Well, what's brand new music from Powerhouse, man? I think that's something that a lot of old school fans like myself and the band strongly doubted would ever happen again. But what do you know? Here you guys are, first new music in almost 2 decades, as we said. And you got the new EP coming out, Renegades. It's out June 17th on Upstate Records. First new music, too, from the band since, of course, you know, the passing of the band's late, great bassist and founder, Ernie Cortez, And like I was telling you, Chris, you know, before we started this, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. This is fucking killer, this record. It's you know, so refreshing to hear that powerhouse sound the way we knew it back in the 90s. But of course, there is some it sounds really pissed off and balls to the wall too. I mean, there's nothing, you guys are not holding back on this record. I think the fans are going to be real happy. So once you guys just talk, start us off by talking about, you know, the new lineup. You know, and really what fueled the fire again to have the band, you know, write and release new music after, you know, a 2-decade break from it?
Or you, Eddie?
Well, I remember like Walter, our drummer, was always in Chris's ear trying to get the band back and trying to do like the Black and Blue Bowl and stuff like that. And
okay,
it was just periodically, and then we were like, yeah, sure, we could do it, but you know, Walter was living in Florida at the time, New York, and then Florida. So it was kind of tough to rehearse unless you were going to do it, you know, like Zoom style.
Right.
But he kept bugging Chris, and then like, you know, finally he was like, "Yo, let's do it." And then I remember Walter saying, "I can't do it now." He couldn't do it. So that's the story that Chris told me. So I believed it because he kept telling me, "Hey, let's get together and do it." And so, but I was like, logistically, how's it going to work? You know, I like to hear the drums like right there.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, Chris and Walter talked, and he was able to move back to the Bay Area. So from that point on, we got the ball rolling.
Yeah, I did. I relented. Walter, he worked on me for years. He worked on me for probably 5 years, and for the longest time, I was just out of respect to Ernie, I felt like it was something that I couldn't do.
Okay.
For a couple reasons, you know. For one, I mean, he was the guy that started the band, and I didn't know if there was someone that could actually fill his shoes, not as a bass player, but as a person, as a personality, you know, because he was very charismatic and he was a bigger than life kind of personality. And anybody that really knew him and had time to spend with him that way knew that. I mean, people were drawn to him. And so it was one of those things where I would hate to think that he'd be looking down on me, being like, "Yo, I can't believe you put that little punk on the stage and he's, you know, playing my shit right now," you know. It was one of those. And then it became this thing where I just kind of understood, like, hey, you know, it's been a long time, and his memory's going to fade if we don't keep doing this, and that's something that I didn't want to see happen, you know.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sure. Well, I mean, do you think he would have you know, wanted for the band to carry on to continue with the Powerhouse legacy, even though, you know, he couldn't be there to do it? I mean, is that something you think he would be happy that you guys are doing right now?
Well, you know, so that was a conversation that we never had. I know he had a conversation with the Doomsday Device guys.
Okay.
And he did say that he wanted Doomsday Device to go on. But, you know, at one point, you know, in the process of people growing up and trying to be responsible and all that kind of shit, Eddie was trying to be responsible. And, you know, for the longest time, Powerhouse had, I think we ended up with maybe 10 different drummers over the course of, you know, the 12 years that Powerhouse existed at the time. Mm-hmm. And so it was always me and Ernie and Eddie. We were the unit. And then at one point, Eddie realized, like, hey, I gotta step back. I have other shit I have to do. I got to be responsible. And it ended up being me and Ernie at that point. And I said to Ernie, I was like, hey, dude, you ever leave this band? I'm not doing this without you. Like, it doesn't go on without you. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I was like, you know, that's something that I said. I thought it was important that I, you know, stuck by what I said at the time. You know, and then obviously I guess I've gone back on my word, but, you know, I'd like to think it's with good intentions. You know, I do want to keep Ernie's memory out there because he was a pretty special human being. Like they broke the mold when they made him. I never met anybody like him. You know, I really didn't.
Sure,
right on.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, yeah. So I mean, let's talk about the record. I mean, once again, you got the mighty Lars Frederiksen from Rancid and the old firm Casuals. He's at the production helm, and of course, he's pretty much done everything. He's worked on everything you guys have done, pretty much. I think throughout the years, and I absolutely really love the overall feel and sound that he was able to extract from you guys on this record. So, what is it about that makes both the band and Lars such a natural fit when it comes to putting out a Powerhouse record, since you guys do have such a long, history working together?
No, he's a fan. He actually likes Powerhouse. So that's what makes it work, So we're friends, first off, and we both, Eddie and I both know Lars probably 30 years now,
Okay.
But he was always a fan of Powerhouse, and so that's why he was excited to work with us. Like, I mean, he's worked with a lot of bands, but he works with the bands that he likes. He doesn't just take on a project for the sake of taking on a project. He works with people because he loves the band, he believes in the band, and that's how he felt about us. So we're very fortunate in that respect.
Yeah.
Sure. Now you guys mentioned that certainly carrying on without Ernie is a huge undertaking, and it's an emotional undertaking, obviously, and that part you guys spelled out pretty well. From just a straight musical standpoint, Ernie was the writer, was like the primary writer, I believe, right? Is that?
Yeah, he wrote a lot of good riffs.
Yeah. He wrote a lot. Yes, I mean, Eddie wrote stuff, I wrote stuff, but Ernie wrote really strong.
Sure.
And he would do it with
ideas.
It's like you'd sit there and just be like, "Oh, you motherfucker! How do you do that?" It's so easy. He'd literally come up and be like, "I got an idea," and boom, and he'd lay out a song in 5 minutes.
Right.
Wow, damn.
Killer.
Right. Well, what I'm wondering, I guess, is with that kind of weight that you guys are self-imposing on yourselves to his legacy, how difficult was it for you guys to bring in riffs or music and feel like it lived up to what he would have brought? Because I think that's pretty much what you guys are saying you did, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we were young, we wrote some stupid songs. We had this band called the Literary Drunk Assholes before Powerhouse. So, we were teenagers, write about drinking, write about chicks, all this stuff. But when we started Powerhouse, we're like, we have to come hard. Like, we can't write stupid shit no more,
Right.
So this particular record, we were like, we have to come back stronger than we were before, even though we don't have Ernie. And I'm pretty sure he'd be proud of the stuff that we've written. Like, we all come up with ideas, and just almost like we never left.
Right.
The only person missing is, of course, our bass player, our friend, our brother. But we're going to carry the tradition like that, and we want to come back with hard songs. Like, and I feel like this EP has got that, and we have more up our sleeves for that. So, carrying the tradition of, good music.
Right on.
I was stressed. I was personally stressed.
Okay.
I was personally stressed about writing something good, because I knew that people would judge it. People would judge it and be like, oh, Powerhouse ain't shit without Ernie, this or that, whatever. And I want the band to sustain for the fact that we do want to keep his memory out there. And I don't want this to come back on some bullshit where people are just like, oh yeah, it was cool back in the day, and whatever, they're doing some songs now. It's okay. That's one of those fears that I had,
No, that makes sense. Now, just because obviously we don't know, but you guys know this better than we do. 20 years apart's a long time. It's a very long time. And I'm sure there was probably, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to guess that there was probably some rebuilding that had to get done just in relationships, just getting back to knowing, I don't know how much you guys kept in touch with each other, but I'm assuming it wasn't daily, like when you were in a band together. Talk about rebuilding the band, not just from the musical standpoint, but relearning how everybody works, how everybody thinks, who's early, who's late, what annoys you, all the little things that go into making a band work, because there's a lot of that goes into
for sure
make the band work together that most people, I mean, you guys have heard it. Band breaks up, they come back, and everybody's just like, oh yeah, cool, they're back together. And they don't think about, well, man, that guy used to drive me fucking crazy because he wouldn't show up until 3 minutes before the show started. You know, I mean, so talk a little bit about rebuilding yourselves as a unit before you started rebuilding as a musical entity.
I mean, I felt like, you know, we were before Walter came back, we were trying out this kid Max, local guy, so we could practice regularly. And we were doing that, and we ended up writing the first song, It's Been a Minute, with him. And I felt like we were already progressing little by little. Somehow Max couldn't keep up with us. That's when Walter came back, and then replaced him basically. And when he came back, we started playing the old songs and just relearning them. But some of them were just muscle memory, and we blazed right through it. Walter just remembered everything. He's a machine.
Right.
And so that felt, you know, when we got one song down, we're like, okay, let's go to the next one and try that one. And it didn't take very much work. Just remembering a couple of key, you know, changes in the songs. But I felt once we got 4 or 5 songs down of the old stuff, we were able to move forward and write the new stuff. We already had It's Been a Minute laid down, so we taught it to Walter. Came down, and he was like, I can work around this, and we let him, you know, work freely around his drumming technique for that, and it came out to be what it is. But we hit the ground running like as soon as he got those songs down, and we just kept working on it. Cris and Walter were roommates for a minute, and then they were writing a lot of stuff while you know we were at work.
Well, in COVID lockdown, we were writing.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but yeah, well, I mean, once that happened and we got Casey in the band, it took a second to gel, but not very long. And we're all good friends. We hang out all the time. So
yeah,
right.
That was not difficult.
We do hang out a lot. I mean, that life being responsible sucks because it gets in the way of all the shit you want to do, you know. And so, I didn't get to see Eddie as much as I wanted to, and so being able to do the band, I'm psyched because I see him way more than I had. But you know, Eddie has kids, and we all work, and I have a business to run, and you know, there's a million different things going on, and so is. But we were always friends first. You know, the band was the bonus. Like, you know, I'm going to talk to Eddie and see him and barbecue and hang out and do all that shit, whether we're playing music or not. And that goes with Casey. That goes, you know, Abe lives in Texas now, but, you know, I talk to Abe all the time. You know, Walter's back. I stayed in touch with him all the time. So, you know, we were always in touch. And for me, when it came to doing this, I needed to get right in my head. You know, it was one of those things that was it was painful for me. It was really, you know, when Ernie died, it was painful for me. There was a lot that I lost at that point. You know, he was my business partner. He was my best friend. You know, him and Eddie are my best friends, you know, and he's my bandmate, you know, and all of that was taken away in one fell swoop. So, you know, sorry to everybody it took so long, but, you know, here we are, you know.
Hey, it's been worth the wait. I mean, you know, let's talk about, you know, it's been a minute since it's been, you know, a while. Talk about the first single. I mean, like I said, what a way to come back. I mean, one of the most, I think, brutal tracks you guys really have ever done. And that sound, man, you know, it sounds like, to me, how hardcore should sound. It has that classic sort of, I guess, for lack of a better word, ambiance to it. I mean, it sounds like it was recorded in, like, you know, in the Age of Quarrel era hardcore in the mid to late 80s there. You know, it's got almost that old school sort of crossover, that Normandy sound feel to it, you know, from Rhode Island with all the Cro-Mags and Leeway and all those bands recorded there. What exactly were you guys trying to do on this record in terms of getting that vintage hardcore sound on a recording? I mean, was that your intention to make it sound like that and not have it, you know, sound all Pro Tools sounding and clean like all the other stuff you hear in these days are in general?
We just told our producer, hey man, just make it sound great, you know, make it sound not too overproduced, not too like a cookie cutter home kind of stuff. You know, you see the same house for miles, and you know, throw in your own little satisfaction of what, you know, your sound, and he just came up with that, and we liked it. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, Lars was good about, you know, steering some of that. Like he's got a shit ton of guitars, and he brought in a whole bunch of guitars. He's like, I think this one's going to sound great for this song, and we literally changed guitars across songs.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going to use this guitar for this song. We're going to use this guitar for this song, and you know, and then Michael Rosen is amazing getting, you know, guitar tones as well. Well, that was great. You know, that was all. But the actual songwriting part, you know, Eddie came in with that song. Eddie fucking ripped that one. I was just like,
nice.
I said to Max, because Max would drive over to the practices with me, and after Eddie came in with it that the first day, and we kind of worked it out. I was like, shit, if Eddie keeps writing shit like this, we got something, you know. And
right,
it rips. That song rips. It's yeah, I like that one a lot. It's fun to play too. But for me personally, I just kept trying to harness, you know, Ernie in ways. You know, I would just kind of be like, what would Ernie do? What would Ernie do? And you know, and I have a different style of writing, you know, that's just, you know, I don't know. I'm not a great guitar player. I can stumble around a guitar and I can kind of arrange the song and whatever. Eddie's going to play it 10 times better than I ever could, but I can come up with shit. But all I could do was think like, well, you know, what's the Powerhouse sound, you know? And, you know, the second record had more of a, you know, probably a current, at that point, What Lies Ahead had more of a current hardcore sound. And I kept thinking like, I think we need to get, you know, and we didn't do it, but I felt like, oh, we need to be maybe closer to what No Regrets was at the time. And it's probably somewhere in between the two records what we have, but I think it's actually pretty good.
It's pretty damn good, man. You know, and well, let's talk about the Oakland Brand hardcore and the Powerhouse sound. I mean, you guys obviously you definitely carried the torch for the scene, you know, here in the Bay Area in the 90s. You just mentioned No Regrets. It's absolute hardcore classic. And same thing, I thought What Lies Ahead was a very underrated record. I think you guys really stepped it up and took a different direction on that record that just obviously I think gets overlooked a lot. And what that record to me also signified is that when what separates, I think, you guys from, say, like, you know, a lot of this, say, New York hardcore bands is that, you know, Powerhouse, the Powerhouse sound definitely, you know, obviously you guys have that New York hardcore base, but to me, what separates you guys from the just hardcore bands in general is that you were and you still aren't afraid to, you know, add some things to your sound that other hardcore bands that maybe sound similar to you, I think are afraid or unwilling to sort of try. You guys, I think, do take some risks. I mean, let's just, for instance, on Outlast and Renegades on the new album. I mean, those songs have those leads. A lot of hardcore bands don't really put in leads, you know, they don't like to for whatever reason. It's sort of a, you know, don't do that thing. It's very taboo sometimes in hardcore and punk, you know, music. Songs like Lose My Faith on What Lies Ahead, another one. I mean, not a lot of hardcore bands have those sort of parts and structures in their sound, but you guys always were willing to kind of, I think, you know, take those risks or to add in things that other bands wouldn't. So what is it to you that really makes Powerhouse and, you know, Oakland Brand hardcore different? It makes it a different sound than any other style of hardcore, in your opinion?
For me, it's just, you know, getting together with friends, having barbecues, and then a hardcore show breaks out.
Nice.
Okay. Perfect. That's simple.
That was the core back then. It was just, hey, let's hang out, let's have barbecues. We get to see all our friends. And hey, guess what? There's a hardcore show playing. And that was it. That was the main focus of us, like getting together, writing stuff for our friends, basically, you know.
Right
come enjoy our company. We want to enjoy your company. It's all about friendship.
Awesome.
Right on.
Yeah, we would write. Yeah, when we would write, you know, it's just, again, you know, Eddie kind of has a style he writes. I have a style I write. Ernie had a style he, you know, and we would all bring stuff to the table. But it's kind of what made those records kind of seem like, you know, I hate, not all over the place, but you know, the songs were different. You could definitely tell there was different. I don't know. It seems like you would kind of feel like, oh, someone else wrote this song because it definitely is different from this song. Definitely different, you know. So.
It's a good mix. Good mix to have, though.
Yeah,
absolutely. So. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's what separated you guys from everybody else.
Exactly.
Really.
Yeah. Exactly. Absolutely. Well, now in terms, you know, of the, you know, the local hardcore sound here in Bay Area. I mean, I grew up in New York City. I've been living out in California now for 24 years. 12 of them I've been living right around here in Oakland. area. I can easily say that, Oakland and the Bay Area in general, to me, it's always felt like it's the West Coast version of New York City. A lot of similarities, especially in terms of just the urban blight factor, which is very similar, I think, between the two cities and regions. And that vibe I really feel is also embedded into the Powerhouse sound as well. I mean, Oakland really has, it was remind me kind of like Brooklyn. It's got a real blue collar, no bullshit demeanor, just aspect to it. And, maybe not so much these days, both Brooklyn and here. I know it's a little bit hipster than it used to be, but I mean, it just, obviously, like I said, just historically though, it has that, that feel to it. I mean, so to me, the Oakland, brand hardcore sound with that urban flair that you guys have, I think that's what Powerhouse is a band. It's that you guys have in hardcore, and that kind of differs you guys also, I think, from the rest of the Bay Area bands around here as well, the hardcore bands over the years. There's obviously some great hardcore bands that have come out of here, but none of them sound like you guys. Why do you think that is, in your opinion? And why do you think your guys' sound is really just so much different than all the other bands from the Bay Area?
God, I don't know. I mean,
we're old. We play old.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're old. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. I guess you're talking about the solos even earlier. It's kind of like you go back to, even Warzone and stuff. Warzone was willing to throw a fucking solo all the time. And, I know, there's influences there for us. I mean, I kind of feel like there's more of, of probably the late 80s, early 90s era hardcore that we, that's what I grew up with. That's when I was going to shows in the mid to late 80s and stuff. That's, clearly the stuff that influenced me. And it kind of comes out in a way, but again, it's kind of weird because there's what drew me to Powerhouse because, I wasn't the original singer. I came in after Kevin Reed.
Right.
When I heard what these guys were playing, it was the closest thing that I heard to like a New York hardcore band without, but it still had a lot of West Coast influence because, Eddie and Ernie grew up on a lot of the West Coast stuff that I wasn't so familiar with. And that influenced them as well, And so that's kind of how we ended up with this mishmash because it was like there was a love of both scenes by Powerhouse, like, the East Coast hardcore that was coming out of New York and clearly the West Coast, punk and all of that these guys loved back then too,
Right.
Kind of on created what we have,
Sure. Yeah. Definitely. Well, one of the things now is, at least from me looking at it, and you guys can tell me I'm full of shit if I am, because I may be, but hardcore now just seems like it is so much more click based than it was in the 90s. It seemed like if in the 90s, it seemed like you could veer off a little bit stylistically, but everybody kind of was in the same family, more or less, where now it seems like, well, there's metallic hardcore and there's punk core and there's all these cores and there's vegan and there's straight edge and there's so many different cliques that hang together. Do you guys feel now, coming back into it, that it's still a lifestyle, or do you feel like it's very much been kind of almost invaded by the social media where everybody wants to be part of a clique instead of part of the bigger community?
Ooh, it's a tough one. it's I'm the fact that all this stuff makes it easier for these hardcore young kids. It's fucking awesome. I wish we had the shit when we were our age.
Sure.
Yeah, for real.
But they don't even know like how much work they have to do to make a flyer, post up a flyer, share it, post it on post, or they do. I don't know. A lot of them just have it really easy with fingertips.
I don't. Yeah, I'll tell you this. I feel like the Bay Area is actually pretty special. I do believe there's actually a lot of unity here. It's one of those things that I'm still pretty aware of in the fact when I still promote shows here. I book a lot of bands and stuff.
Okay.
We're now playing shows again too, but the level of cooperation and collaboration and effort that seems to be made throughout the entire Bay Area that I'm aware of, at least, really makes me proud to be here. Where I'm just kind of like, wow, we got something really. I said I believe we have something particularly special here because everybody kind of believes that, you know, we are all in this together here. I can't necessarily speak about that in other places, but here I feel that. I mean, the amount of love that we're getting from the bands that have, you know, been playing for years now and putting in all the hard work, and the way that they're welcoming us back and wanting to do stuff with us and help us. And, you know, it's cool, man. I mean, there's a lack of competitiveness that's kind of cool. I mean, everybody wants to do their best, and everybody wants to, you kind of want to, like, you know, push people to be the best that they can be, but at the same time, you don't feel like anyone's out there being like, "Oh yeah, fuck you guys, we're way better." Like there's none of
It's like a sibling rivalry type of thing, you know, something like that.
Yeah, where everybody really wants to see everyone do good.
Yeah,
right on.
They want to see everybody succeed, and they're willing to help out everybody and anyone, no matter what age group, no matter what you're into. You know, if you call somebody for, hey, is it cool if I can do this, and can you help me out with it? Sure, no problem. Everybody's willing to help each other out here, which is, you know, it's a rare thing, but it's really solid, and that's what makes us proud. It's like, wow, you know, we're getting love, we're getting love back. We feel we just partied, you know, we wanted to have fun and play shows, and this is, you know, kids coming up to us, hey, you influenced us, and you guys, you know, I'm playing because of you guys, and you're just like, what? We just wanted to party and hang out with people, hang out with friends, you know, but the fact that they're like willing to help out anyone, not just us, but any other touring bands, local bands. Yeah. It's amazing. It's a really tight bond over here.
Sure. You know, it's interesting that you guys say that, because I want to go exactly off of what Eddie was saying about maybe it being easier because of, you know, you can throw a flyer on Facebook and everybody sees it. I think I always lean personally to the other side of that, which is the community gets weakened because you guys know this, you know, there's something lost when you guys and two friends that are in this band and three friends that are in this band, y'all go out together and flyer, y'all go out together, and, you know, this week your bass player's sick, but you're friends with this guy and he's, you know, he knows all your shit, you know all his, so he can step in. And, you know, to me, some of that has been lost by not being together. But it's really interesting to hear you guys say that it doesn't sound like, at least out there in Oakland, that's been lost at all.
No, hell no.
I don't think so. I mean, and at this point, we're not even talking specifically about Oakland. We start encompassing the Bay Area. So you're talking about San Jose, Santa Cruz. You got Scowl, and you got Tsunami and Hands of God, and then you got these streets from a little further in. They're from like the Central Valley, and then you got all the bands coming up in the Sacramento area. But everybody's working together. Like everybody, it's pretty fucking cool, man. Like it really is. It's special. It's cool here, and right now, you know, the San Jose scene is pretty hot. You know, you got Drain and Gulch and Tsunami, and you know, there's a ton of stuff going on in Scowl, and everybody's making noise. And at the same time, these guys are all still willing to, you know, contribute. Malachi books tons of shows still. He does, you know, he's busy with Scowl. He's crazy with Scowl, but he is still making sure that shows go on in Cupertino, that shows go on in Santa Cruz. Like and he puts in a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. He's just a young kid, you know. He's enjoying it. He's helping out everybody that walks by and reaches out to him. He's whatever he can do, he'll do it.
Has the scene in the Bay Area scene always been sort of like that? Has there always been that really uniform? Even when you guys were coming up in the 90s, was it real tight like that? Do you feel it's maybe even more so today? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, there was a couple of resistance and stuff where we didn't get much love, but that was earlier on in the beginning of our stages. Like they didn't know what hardcore was, you know. It was just mostly punk rock and metal, thrash and stuff like that. Hardcore, it was a handful of bands back then, and so they didn't know what to expect. They didn't know what. I mean, we got labeled so much stuff because of our type of music. We got labeled as thugs and criminals, and we're not even none of that. Like as soon as we met some bands, we're like, yo, you guys are the coolest dudes ever. I was like, yeah, man, we're here for music, for the love of the music, you know. We're not here to start fights, but you know, not gonna say we're gonna back down if you step up to us, but
Right.
That was our goal was not to start fights and stuff. It was just to play music, enjoy the friendship, or like I said earlier, enjoy the company of our friends and make new friends and old friends and stuff like that. So, but yeah, at first it wasn't there was nothing there, so we had to pretty much pave the way.
Got it. Okay.
Right. The hardcore scene didn't come easy here. It definitely didn't come easy.
Right.
Like it was, this was thrash metal. I mean, this is a thrash metal mecca, right? I mean, and then you have punk rock, and then hardcore was one of these things that hardcore was the thing that was considered like the crew shit, like that a lot of people that went to stuff weren't so into. Like, and so they got turned off the hardcore because they felt like it was almost like gang kind of shit. It's another music scene, really, and you have a bunch of guys that all kind of roll together. But it took a lot of hard work with a lot of people, and it was small here for a long time early on. And so it really took everyone coming from Santa Cruz and from Sacramento and from Stockton and all that showing up at all the shows everywhere to make things really mean like something, and to mean something. And I think that's still kind of just for whatever reason that tradition seems to carry on, where everybody's just really still recognizes the fact that it takes all of us here.
Right? Is it weird for you guys now when you hear that? When you, like you guys were saying before, when you hear people come up to you and say, "Oh, this is the reason I play," or this music that we made was influential in somebody becoming a guitar player, a drummer, or whatever. That that always feels weird to most people. And then especially at this point where you guys are like kind of re-getting your wheels under you, so to speak. And, that's got to feel weird. Or maybe I'm thinking it almost puts a lot of pressure on you to really deliver, because you've got so many people now that are telling you that they're in it because of you. Do you guys feel that?
Nah.
Yes.
I'm real to them. I'm like, yo, man, that's cool that whatever I did inspired you and whatever, but I was doing it just to have fun, make friends, new friends, and that's what I'm doing it for now. The fact that we got to travel and see, the world, it blew my mind. I was like, wow, I never expected this. Like, I didn't think we were going to leave Oakland.
Right.
We were just going to play house parties in Oakland, as a thing, but it got serious, and we ended up traveling. And Cris did a lot of work on that. He was like reaching out to people, and he's like, hey, we play in this town. I was like, what? All right, let's do it. And then we got a van, we traveled, and we got to see the world on the music's dime,
Right.
And that's why I tell kids, it's like, if you really love it, just play it from your heart, from the heart, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're always honored, you're flattered when you hear something like that, where someone's like, oh wow, like it's funny now because there's people that I'm friends with and their kids actually like our band, and that's like really flattering. It's like, wow, you guys are just teenagers now, and you that's whoa, okay. It's kind of like a moment where you just go, holy shit, that's really cool.
Right.
But it also makes me feel like you got to keep delivering. You can't disappoint, like, and for that, I've always believed in this band. Like, I've always felt like, we had something special and we had something great, and that we always needed I always felt that we needed to push harder, and that's, and I was the guy always pushing for that, like being like, no, we could do this. No, we could do that, So I've always believed in the band. I really have.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's talk about, guys. I mean, as we were talking before we started, Cris. I mean, you guys just wrapped up some dates in the Midwest and East Coast there. What's the plan for you guys going forward now in terms of shows? Like I said, I know you got one next month in Oakland coming up. Any plans to do anything else after that at festivals or anything? What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, we got, so right now we are in the middle of May. So May 27th, May 28th, we have Sacramento, Cafe Colonial.
Okay.
In Sacramento, that'll be Friday the 27th. Saturday the 28th, we'll be playing the X Bar with Dead Heat. That'll be a really good show. That's Cupertino. Then we have our record release show in Oakland. So we'll actually play a proper Oakland show.
Nice. Awesome.
That'll be for the record release. That's gonna be June 25th. So that's really cool. And then shortly after that, we go out and we'll be upstate New York. We're playing Albany.
Okay.
Rick, and they'll be kicking off a tour, and we'll be playing a show with them, and then we go to This Is Hardcore.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's good. You know, Joe Hardcore
yeah.
has always been like a dear friend of ours. He's always been a staunch Powerhouse supporter.
Mhm.
He spent a ton of time in the Bay Area. He would come out here and just spend what seems like months at a time.
Wow.
And we loved having him. You know, he's like a little brother, and he's taking good care of us. He's going to get us on that. We'll play Boston as well. And I'm now in the process of putting together some things for that's July. That's early July. That's the 8th, 9th, and 10th of July. And then I'm putting things together September and October now too.
Very good.
So right now, you know, we're stringing smaller things together. I kind of feel we didn't push really hard because we've all been wanting to play these new songs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We all believe in them. We believe that they're that good. And so we're kind of like, we're anxious for this record to come out. And then we're really hoping to start kind of really, you know, pushing a bit harder once those songs are out there.
Yeah. No, fantastic, man. Awesome. Well, yeah, once again, the return of the mighty Oakland Brand hardcore legends Powerhouse. The EP is called Renegades. It's out June 17th on Upstate Records. And guys, why don't you go ahead and just let the listeners know where they can keep up with the band, check out tour dates, merch, you know, all that good stuff.
We got Powerhouse OBHC at Bandcamp for all the, you know, you get merch, you download all the albums, What Lies Ahead is on there. The singles are on there. No Regrets is on there. Pandemonium, a couple of compilations are on there.
Great.
One with Numb, and then we did a Rabies tribute. One of the songs is on there. But Bandcamp is the way to go, and then you can always find us on all streaming platforms with No Regrets, and then singles. And then another single will drop on May 22nd, which is the Renegades, the title track. That drops May 22nd on all platforms.
20th or 22nd, Eddie? Is it 20th?
22nd.
Is it 22nd? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Great, guys. And once again, Renegades EP. You guys, anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
I'm going to say Powerhouse OBHC. Put the OBHC at the end. That's the best way to find us. There seems to be a few powerhouses out there. So
okay,
we want to distinguish ourselves. We are Powerhouse Oakland Brand Hardcore, so OBHC.
Very
awesome.
good.
Fantastic. Well, there it is. Powerhouse Renegades out June 17th. Guys, thanks so much for coming on Aftershocks, man.
When it's time to rock, it's time to tune in to Crash Course Radio. Featuring the very best of the heavier music, from Slayer to Clutch to Fear Factory, it's all in one place, Crash Course Radio. To tune in to Crash Course Radio, simply visit www.cmsradio.net. You can also tune in on the CMS Network app by opening the app, clicking the musical notes at the top right corner, and selecting Crash Course Radio from our stations. All the best heavy music is there, so you should be too. Ditch the commercial radio and make Crash Course Radio your everyday station.